Today, I talk to Salah Eddine Mahrach, a leading trusted GRC professional with more than 18 years of business experience in banking, financial services, and the energy sector. Leveraging on years of field experience, he succeeded in implementing and managing programs and structures aligning with international standards and frameworks for several companies. He is also one of the founders of the ISACA Moroccan chapter, where he serves as the Secretary General. As always, when I talk to my guests, I'm curious of what is not obvious, what is not written in the curriculum. I want to learn more about the human who impacts corporate integrity. Let's learn from Salah Eddine's experience when it comes to corporate integrity in his field of expertise. I'm glad to have him here, and I'm glad to have you here spending the next few minutes together with us.
Corporate integrity, fraud, non-compliance, and cybersecurity. Would you like to understand the root causes, detect threats, and take measurements to protect the most precious assets? As a leader, you need to be prepared and stay actionable in the event of an incident. Sonja Stirnimann talks in her podcast, The Human Factor. Corporate integrity matters. To leaders and entrepreneurs who want to have impact, foster corporate integrity, and act as role models. As an international expert for corporate governance and integrity, entrepreneur, and independent board member, she knows the challenges. Let her inspire you.
Welcome back to this new episode of the podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters. You might be a board member, executive or non-executive, an auditor, an investigator, a corporate integrity leader, or on your radar. I'm your mentor and sparring partner when it comes to corporate integrity with impact. Founder of Corporate Integrity Concepts with a different formats for corporate integrity leadership, with the vision to protect and secure assets, reputation, and actionability, yours and the one of your organizations. Why? Because corporate integrity matters to all of us. And now let's listen to the perspective of my guest today. So Salah Eddine, it's so great to have you here on air, of course, virtually due to the current situation of the pandemic. And you know about my interest in the human behind the professional role. And I will focus on you, your different roles you have, and your own personal experience when it comes to corporate integrity. Our listeners and I are so curious to learn more about you and your stories you have to share with us. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. I'm really happy to be in your show, and I hope that I will share some insights that can be helpful for listeners. I'm also one of your listeners, and really enjoy the show, and there are a lot of value added by this kind of show. So I hope that my insights will get the same evaluation from your listeners. So, but before starting, I want to just do a disclaimer.
Okay, good.
As we are professionals, dealing with integrity, so I have to say it. So the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are personal. Mm-hmm. They do not reflect the opinions or views of my current or my previous employers. So
perfectly done.
Start.
It's absolutely perfect. And it's really, I think all of our guests, they really present their own opinion, but it's great that you also tell us that again, because I think it's so important also that we mention it. And you did it well. Perfect. Thank you. And that's already my first question right now, what kind, so you have different roles that we already said in the introduction. And what kind of role does corporate integrity play in your daily life? Because you have several hats on.
Sure. I will surprise you. When dealing with integrity, personally, I don't distinguish between my professional role and my personal life.
Good.
For me, integrity is fundamental in my role as in my day-to-day life. So we cannot make a distinguish between how we behave day to day and how we behave in organizations. So if you have to to comply with the law, you will do it in your day-to-day life, and also in your personal life, and also in your corporation or your organization. So in all the roles that I have fulfilled, always corporate integrity is priority number one. So I consider it as an asset to preserve. So like any physical asset that the organization is taking care of. So as you know, so losing integrity impacts the reputation of the organization and can cost a lot. So just ask reactive companies dealing with US regulators, for example, like Wells Fargo and Siemens and all these kind of organizations that I consider as reactive companies. So they paid fines, they paid fees for lawyers, they paid money for remediation plans. So my role is to support in a proactive way the board, the first and second lines of defense in navigating business dilemmas.
And when you look at your role where you have right now, you are the head of risk management and compliance. Yeah. So what kind of typical situations do you have on your desk on a day-to-day basis when it comes to integrity?
So when it comes to integrity, is the first action, and that's why I talked about being proactive. So it's conducting ethics trainings and awareness. So that I consider as important, and it's a kind of mean to prevent any misconduct. So,
how is your experience, about the prevention and the reaction? Because we as professionals, we also would like to always want to prevent it. But what I experience is that often people only learn in the reactional way and not in the preventional way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, it starts with the values. With the values, it starts from the top of the organization. So the organizations has to set the values, and those values have to be shared within the organizations and can be formalized to, for example, code of conduct. It's among the means that can help to prevent any misconduct. So and also hiring people who share those values. I mean, it's very important. So when the culture of the organization can be a real pillar in preventing any misconduct. So for me, setting the core values that starts from the top of the company, hiring the right people. When I talk about hiring, I'm talking also about the executive management. It's not only operational staff, but within all the positions within the company, people have to share the same values and the same culture. So for me, prevention starts from hiring good people who share the same values, training, awareness, and also formalizing the rules. So because sometimes people can behave, but without being in a bad aim. You see what I mean? Because we didn't explain to them that they have to respect a rule. They can do something that we can approach to them.
And when you look at your role right now, you're heading a team of I don't know how many people. So in your daily life, you also have different people in a team always, and maybe also different cultures. And how do you contribute that these people understand what it's meant by the code of conduct, by the values we share? Because I think paper takes a lot on, and we can also preach whatever we would like to, but how do you make sure that your team, especially now also in the risk management and compliance environment, really understands and is aligned when it comes to these values and corporate integrity? What do you really do practically?
Yeah, practically, we within our team, we try to speak real situations. I mean, that's the for us, or for me, it's the best way to push people be aligned with for example, the code of conduct. For example, for conflict of interest. So it is always better to take some real situations from real life and present them. So if for example, if you want to, for example, for recruitment process, someone wants to bring a resume for one of his relatives, that situation can be classified as a conflict of interest situation. Yeah. So we explain to people that there's no problem to capture people and those people are relatives to you, but they have to follow the same process. So they have to apply through this website, and they have to be interviewed by other people, not by you or by your friends. So that's the kind of situations that we try to share with within the team, and also with colleagues within the company. For example, also for procurement team, if they have interest, for example, in some suppliers, that's a bad situation. There's a conflict of interest, so you have to disclose this and tell us that someone they have interest in this supplier. I mean, they have shares, or someone of their family is the CEO of this company, and things like that. So we try to always to
explain,
using some real situations.
What is the biggest challenge, when you do that? When you look at your team right now, and I think there are always challenges, but different challenges. What is the challenge you face in corporate integrity, also leading such a team of professionals?
I think the biggest challenge is the culture. So, for example, here I would take an example. For example, facilitation payments.
Yeah.
So we're struggling with stuff like that. I mean, for people, facilitation payments are something common. Yeah. I'm talking about Africa, and in general, those kind. I don't know about Europe, but this kind of payments are common, and they are not shocking.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the examples that's.
How do you do that?
Because we can fit.
It's so difficult. That's what we see when we support our clients, in the Middle East, for example. It's part of the culture. And how do you deal that? How do you explain why these facilitation payments are a risk for the organization?
Because, to simply said, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Why you will pay someone and for something that he should give you? I mean, I mean, you go to, for example, customs or any administration, and you want to get a permit, for example. So those people are paid by their office. So why you will pay them? You see, and also we try to highlight that it's not legal.
And it's harming. It's harming the economy.
It's harming the economy. Yeah, of course. And also we are contributing to create a kind of bad habits within those organizations also. So simply said, it's a bad thing to do. It's not the right thing to do, and always and also it's forbidden by the law.
I can see. I think it must be one of the challenges you have, especially in the area you work in. And the people you work with, and the cultural background these kind of people have, and they are also socialized to behave like that.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. Sometimes the qualified such as payments as not a gift, but it's like paying a cafe. You see what I mean? it's just to show them that we respect them, and sometimes it's not about money, or it's about giving a service. It's just to show to the person that we
appreciate it.
We appreciate the service.
It's often seen as a tip, but we shouldn't tip the government,
Yeah, sure.
So may I ask you a rather personal question? And because I think it's also interesting also for our listeners. So what was the moment when your own personal integrity was under pressure or at risk? Would you like to share that with us?
Sure. As you know, I used to be, I spent a lot of time as an auditor, and you know that in practicing auditing, always you are exposed to this kind of situation. So for example, some auditors try to influence your judgment or the opinion that you will give at the end of the audit assignment. So sometimes they are using a carrot, and sometimes they are using a stick. They try to charm you, and sometimes they're trying to frighten you. I mean, they will tell you that, they just had a dinner with the CEO and stuff like that. They know your boss, etc. So that's the kind of situations that I have that I have faced before.
Yeah,
and the situation can be tricky. I have if you are at the end of your career in the internal audit department, it can be really tricky.
Absolutely.
So because at this moment you are trying to find another opportunity. So, and sometimes some auditors, they are trying to charm you by saying that you can work with them. So, and by that, they are trying to influence your judgments and your integrity. So that's the kind of situation that I have faced before.
How did you cope with that? Because that's also interesting for our younger generation. Listen to you right now, because coping with such kind of situations might be a challenge for young auditors, for example.
I agree with you. I will share some experience. For me, it's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone who behaves like that, it can be a clue that something wrong. It's there. I try to understand the reasons behind such attitudes. It is a red flag or just a fear of judgment. Also, being rigorous. I mean, walking the talk. I mean, showing them that we are professional, and I will not change my judgment or my opinion, because my findings are fact oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to show professionalism and look for advice and support from your management and professionals like you. I mean, because I'm involved in many professional organizations. So in some situations like that, like this situation, you can ask for advice from professionals who maybe have faced the same situation. So to be more practical,
speak up and reach out.
Yeah, being professional and speak up and share the issue with your management.
And just for you,
Yeah, and for me, it can be a clue and a red flag.
Absolutely. And you are also allowed to say, our listeners, that you are the co-founder of the ISACA chapter in Morocco, because I already did that in the introduction, but I think it's also very helpful because also the young professionals, they have access to these kind of professional organizations. And as you said, it's good also to reach out to other peers working in other companies and also to reflect what's going on. Because not everybody has such a leader like you within the firm also following the same rules of integrity. So I think it's helpful if they don't find anyone within the organization that they can reach out to professionals like you and others. I think that's also one of the missions these kind of organizations have.
Yeah, sure. So I think in our field we have the chance to work in highly standardized field with the presence of multi-professional associations like the IAA, ISACA, ECFE, so supported by highly devoted and skilled people. So join those associations. I'm speaking to newcomers and also to practitioners. So you can find a lot of support from those professionals. So people who may have faced the same issues, you can find guidelines, norms, standards, that the implementation can help you avoid confronting such situations. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing. And when you look back now over the last 2 decades of where you are in the field and working as a professional, where do you see the trend for the future? What do you expect to change in your field of expertise over the next few years? Also taking the pandemic into consideration, because a lot changed now over the last 2 years.
So personally, I believe that doing business without taking into account corporate integrity is no longer sustainable. I mean, no proof is needed. For me, it's a competitive factor. So to access to financing, retain highly skilled, talented people, or gain and retain customers. It's always today. It's a real competitive factor. Yeah. So and also, I mean, with the access to information now, through internet, social network, press, whistleblowers, stakeholders are more informed. I mean, they are savvy and pressing corporations to align their expectations. So if not, the price can be very high. I mean, some enterprises. I take the example of Volkswagen. They were boycotted by customers because of the diesel gate. Yeah. So and also it can cost a lot by fines. I mean, and you can lose talent. So talented people with high values can leave you, and that's a loss for a company. And also taking in consideration the current context. So, for example, the last move from the OECD, the anti-bribery recommendation, and the Biden administration with their new strategy on corruption, and also the SEC plans, the SEC. I mean the Stock Exchange Commission plans for ESG. So I think now corporate integrity is at the top of priorities for organizations. So taking in consideration the actions that I just mentioned from regulators and also from organizations like OECD. So I think the coming years we will see more tough regulations from customers. So people are keen to see that corporations are behaving the right way, and also from banks. So banks are now looking to finance good corporations. So, in my opinion,
it's going to be very expensive if corporate integrity doesn't play a role. You know, also from an investor side, you pay much more for the money. That's also, I think, I fully agree on what you are saying. And I think the awareness still needs to be raised somehow in some countries and in some organizations. It really depends about the maturity these organizations are in. But I think there's still a lot to do for some of them. And if you could have one wish for your next, 20 years of professional life, what is the wish you would have short term for your professional environment?
I think the culture for me, when I talk about the culture, is aligning executive management and business lines with the values that companies are expressing, and also how we can align the expectations with the actions.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a big issue, and also how to assess that. I mean, as assurance professionals, how we can find the gap between the expectations and the actions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the board wants, what the stakeholders want, and what the executive management is doing and the business lines are doing in the field. So the answer can be the culture, but how we as professionals can assess this gap and push to make it small.
Wow, I think that's really a good closing you have now, because I will keep you accountable on this cultural thing, and also the expectation management between the board, the executive management, also the business lines, because it's so important. And your wish is great. That's what we all have to strive for, to make sure that these expectations are understood, followed through, and people are accountable for what they do, or the strategy they set. And I think it's a really good one you have on your radar, and I hope also on your priority list.
Sure.
I will ask you again in a few months, and I'm looking forward to keeping in contact with you all and exchange about the latest trends. So thank you very, very much for your contribution today, Salah Eddine. It was great, and it was a pleasure to learn from you and your experience, and I wish you all the best for your future, also when it comes to corporate integrity and your wish to culture.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure. I hope that your listeners will capture some good insights from our discussion. So it's a great pleasure to be in your show.
So thank you. And for all the listeners, you can also reach out to Salah Eddine via LinkedIn. I think it's okay when we share it right now here.
With a pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you. This was the episode number 51 of the Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters, following the motto, corporate integrity secures and empowers individuals and organizations. Thank you for listening. My name is Sonja Stirnimann, and I'm your host. Stay curious, actionable, and a role model. Take care and goodbye. Would you like to learn more, meet peers, and getting qualified? So visit the website Corporate Integrity Concepts or Corporate Integrity Academy. Or do you think this podcast could be interesting for someone you know? Sharing is caring, and we are always happy to welcome your peers to our community. And if you like this episode, subscribe and don't miss any of the future ones. The show notes are, of course, enriched with relevant information, and your connection via any of the social media channels is highly appreciated and will be answered. Promised. And please do not forget, topics of your interest or interview partners are highly welcome. Just send me a note on any of the channels you know.